Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Guinea Pigs with Greg. This one has been a long time coming. It's a breed that holds dear to my heart. It's the Teddy. So this breed in focus is all about the Teddy Guinea Pig. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the breed standard. We're going to take a look at the faults in a Teddy Cavy. We're going to look at what a good Teddy Cavy is meant to look like. And we're also going to look about breeding, feeding and showing. So the Teddy is a short-coated cavy and it's a rexoid type cavy. It should appear raised, and the coat should appear raised from the body, lying with the orientation from the rump towards the head, and this should particularly be evident when the coat is gently brushed forward. The forward lie of the coat should form a short fringe or a cap, and the coat should be dense and even all over the body and plush, with a touch of harshness, having a real bouncy feel on the palm of the hand. And whilst there are no points for colour on the Teddy, the colours are used for division of classes, and they can be shown in any colour variation. So the breed standard is divided up into points, and the majority of the points are obviously for coat appearance, and then coat feel, which is made up of density and texture, and bounciness or spring. Body shape is then the next most important feature, with head, eye and ear forming a group together to give an overall balance and appearance of the cavy. Next up, we're going to look at the different colour variations by which the Teddy Cavy is classified for showing. So we're going to look at them all in depth and give a little description of each one. So a solid Teddy is one that is a Teddy of all one colour, but this can also be an agouti of all one colour. So it's a solid cavy. And in the Teddy shows, these are the lowest in number because they're probably the hardest to breed, as Teddies are bred for coat, so patternation of colour comes secondary to that lovely coat texture. As you see, we've got an example here of a solid agouti, and they do look very smart. It actually allows the coat to lift quite well. As you see, here's both the two solids, and coat-wise, they compete just as well as any of the other colours. So by adding a second colour to a solid cavy, they become a bicolour. This is two colours on one cavy. So here you can see we have a gold and white, but they can be in any variation of two colours. And again, they're very popular because they're a little bit easier to breed because, again, we're not looking for patternation. It's just the number of colours on the cavy. And usually you get to see a good number of these on the show bench, and they're often competing for the highest awards. And I think this is just due to the physical amount of numbers and the amount of pigs available. By adding a third colour, we come to the most popular colour variation of Teddies, the tricolour. So here you can have them with agouti patches and solid patches, as well as white. And that makes up three colours. And these are usually some of the most striking looking caves. As you see, the colours are very strong. And the coats are always nice and dense on the tricolours, as with all the other colours really, because as I say, we're breeding for coat. But these are usually the most numerous on display at a Teddy show, and subsequently, obviously, the more you breed of a colour, the more chance it's got of winning. So quite often you'll see a tri winning best in show. The other colour variation we have are roans. Now this can be any roaning across any part of the body in any amount. And as long as it has roaning on them, it can be shown in the roan section. And roans are very striking. That intermingling white hair really makes lovely patterns, but for some reason it has a very good harshness and nice texture to the coat. So people often use roans quite a lot. And recently we've seen some very good examples on display, winning some very high awards at Teddy Cavy Club shows. So it's nice to see the roans coming up in stature and competing with the other colours. And not only competing, actually winning. This is JJ, a very famous roan sow from Julesjen Cavies, and is one of my favourites at the moment. There are some faults and disqualifications that are very specific to the Teddy Cavy. I couldn't find any pictures of this, but if the cavy has rosettes or partial rosettes, that's an instant disqualification from the event. I'm just going to go over some of the other specific breed faults in a bit more detail now, so you can see what we actually mean by them. The most common one we see on the show bench is a hat fault, and this is where the cap doesn't form correctly and lie flat across the top of the head. it pips up or squiggles to the left and right, making the coat direction not look even and flat. So you can see here, this is sticking up slightly and not lying in the right direction. In contrast, we have this Cavy with a very good cap. It's lying flat, it's pushed all the way from the shoulder to the top of the head and doesn't have any hint of a squiggle or a lift. So this is a good example of a cap. Flat sides and flat coats are becoming increasingly apparent on the show table, and this is something that can be fixed slightly through preparation, but it's mostly a breeding issue. And here we have two Cavies. On the left, you can see the coat stands up away from the body and has lots of spring in it, whereas on the right, the coat is very flat and lies downward facing. And it's quite apparent when you have the two side by side, and you can make this comparison. And again here, you can see on the right we have lots of spring and bounce and the coat direction is good, whereas on the left the coat is lying flat and downward facing. This isn't really what you want. It doesn't give a good outlook on the Cavy and it doesn't give a good appearance. And here we can see a good example of the coat direction being all forward facing from the rump to the cap, and you can see here the sides are bouncy and standing away from the body, which is a good example of how the coat should look. As coat carries the most points on the standard, obviously people breed for coat first. So small eyes have recently been creeping in, but breeders have been working very hard to eradicate this issue. As you can see on the left, we have a Cavy with small eyes, whereas if they have a big bold eye like the Cavy on the right, they look much more vibrant and much more appealing, and it gives a much greater look to the whole Cavy. Another specific fault for the Teddy are the presence of guard hairs, which basically means the coat has been ungroomed. And this can often make the coat feel denser, but it will give the coat an uneven appearance, as it will be standing erect rather than lying flat across the body, as we've shown in the previous image. And this brings us nicely onto show preparation. How do we get that coat short and facing in the right direction? Well, there are a few techniques, but firstly I'll show you what we're trying to achieve. So on the left you can see how the coat should look, nice and short and springy, whereas on the right you can see an ungroomed coat. So how do we get that coat nicely groomed? Well, tweezers. So you put your fingers together and just above the height of the fingers, you pluck all of the hairs that are standing proud above your fingertips. So you do this all over the Cavy to give a nice even springy appearance. But then you'll have lots of loose hairs, so you need to tease these hairs out and brush them forward. So you're pulling the coat in the right direction from the rump to the head. And then you'll sort of see a more even image of body shape of the Cavy. Here we use an anti-static comb because you don't want the hair to stand up on end artificially, and I would avoid going to the body and the skin with the comb. So we're just looking to tease the top layers of the coat. We don't want to go really deep and bring up any scurf. Now, I use a professional pet dryer to blow dry the Cavy's hair forward, and it also helps get rid of any loose debris. And we do this on a cool setting because we don't want to heat the coat up and make it go all puffy. We literally want it to lie natural, so we just give it a nice blast through and we go with the direction of the coat mostly, and this helps tease out any of the grass seeds and also any scurf or anything that's lying at the bottom of the coat. And I find this very therapeutic, and it looks absolutely gorgeous when you see it go through the coat. It almost like ripples around like water. So breeding teddies is quite easy in principle. They breed true, so you breed one teddy to another teddy and you produce baby teddies. So you have to obviously look at the Cavy in a bit more depth. So you have to look at different faults on the Cavy and see if you can offset them to produce a more balanced exhibit. So I tend to go with Cavies with as big a head as possible, with as bold an eye and as level an ear. So you never double fault. So you never pair two pigs with a flat coat together. You never pair two pigs with small eyes together. You're always looking to try and develop the Cavy as best you can. So I always try and use bigger pigs, fitter pigs with as much coat as possible. If you keep the basics right, these things can be slowly improved upon where you can select for the best attributes that you require. As I said, teddies breed true, so teddy to teddy equals more teddies. It's very simple. You don't need to add any other breeds or anything else to them. One thing I would mention though is roans are quite prolific within the Teddy breed. So you do need to be very careful and keep very good records, as breeding roan to roan will produce lethal babies, which means they're born dead or deformed. And this isn't what you want. So just be very careful about when you're purchasing your breeding stock, you know the history of them, and that way you can avoid pairing roan to roan. Baby teddies are much like every other guinea pig. They're very robust, eyes open, teeth, feeding very early on solids, and they're extremely active. And I do enjoy seeing the teddies being born, because they come in such a variety of colours. You're not breeding for colour, you're breeding for coat. So all the babies can come out in any mixture, and you never know which classes you're going to be able to enter them in until they're born, because you can't plan ahead with this type of pattern. But as it's a coated breed, you're not really going to get an idea of how good the coat is until they have that first molt at 3 months old. And they go through lots of various stages in between, and it's quite often referred to as the tatty teddy stage. But as with all babies, there are indications that you can look out for, which will give you an idea of how good the coat is going to be. As you see, the coat starts to rise very early on, but also the belly. A curly belly is a good indication that there's going to be lots of spring and bounce to that coat, which is the thing we're looking for. It's important that you start working and training these babies at a very early age. So I like to handle them daily. I often push the ears down and make sure nothing's in the eyes. Give them good health checks at least every other day when they're babies, just to make sure they're putting on enough weight. And if not, we can intervene and maybe help them out. But on the whole, the teddy babies are very robust, self-sufficient, and a nice easy starter breed for people to get into if they're looking to just breed guinea pigs. But also the amount of showable cavies you get out of the babies is quite high. The retention rate is ridiculously good for these, which allows you to make huge progressions very quickly by retaining for eye, ear, body shape, as well as coat. So you can make some real progress very quickly within a breed like this with the right breeding stock. And stock is readily available across the country. The teddy breeders are spread out far and wide, from very north of England to both southwest, south and southeast, and all across the Midlands, with some of the teddy shows actually having 50 or 60 plus teddies at a show quite regularly now, almost broaching the 80 mark, which is unheard of in recent times. Obviously, to find these teddy breeders, you want to look in cavies to see who's winning. You want to join the Teddy Cavy Club as well, and they'll put you in contact with your local breeder. And then once you've got your stock, you too will have some lovely teddy babies running around, and they're very curious, active cavies. The litter sizes are usually between 2 to 4, and they seem to be quite capable of raising full litters on their own without any sort of help from us. Obviously, you keep your usual feeding regime for the babies, where you cut up the vegetables very small and make sure there's plenty of water and hay on offer. But other than that, they don't need any real special attention more than you would for any other breed of guinea pig. Their coats do develop very quickly, so their body shape and everything changes at a very rapid pace. If you could time lapse it, it would be amazing to see, week on week, how much they've actually changed. And they do grow at an amazing rate. But also, because the coats are quite springy and dense, once they've had that first molt at 3 months, you can really start to see how the adult coat is going to look. And here's an image of Julesjen, one of Michelle Turner's most successful teddies. And you can see it going from the 2 to 3 month stage up to the 4 month stage, and the coat development's very, very different. You can see how it starts to bite in. And then as we get to the 5 and 6 month stage, you can see the body shape has completely changed. It's widened at the hip, the coat is spread out nicely and pushing forward from the rump all the way to the head to form that cap. And then at 7 months old, this cavy went on to win Best in Show at the Intermediate Stock Show for the National Cavy Club. One of the questions consistently asked is, what is the difference? In these videos, we have the teddy on the left, which is a white and black bi, and the Rex is on the right as a silver agouti. So in terms of head, eye and ear, both cavies have the same points in the standard, and they're both the same descriptions. The same for the body shape. The body shape has to be short, cobby, thick set, and good width across the shoulders, and they have to have good substance and size appropriate to the age. This is the same for both, whether it's a Rex or a teddy. Both have to have a well-covered belly, and the coat length on both is the same at 1.2 centimetres. But it's with the coat that the main differences appear. So the coat of a Rex is a crimped, erect coat and appearing dense and even all over. And this has to be springy and resilient, and when brushed with the palm of the hand, has to return to the original erect appearance. And has to be coarse to the touch, particularly on the top of the back. The Teddy has a different distinct feature with its coat. It has to have a short raised coat of an even length that forms from the rump all the way to the head with a visible fringe or a cap following the orientation of the coat. It also has to be dense, but has to be bouncy feel when brushed with the hand. It also has to be plush with just a touch of harshness, not the same harshness as the Rex. So those are the main differences, but the most one is when you feel the coat. They feel completely different, but the coats do look different as well. Like I say, that Teddy coat is plush and straight, whereas the Rex coat is harsh and crimped. Through my time showing the Teddies recently, I've picked up some tips and tricks that help me on the show bench that have been given to me by the other Teddy breeders, so I thought I'd share them with you. The first is don't put the hay loose in the cage at the shows. Put them in these little toilet roll holders and keep the hay neat. This stops the hay from getting into the coat and making it look uneven on the day of the show. And I find this is always best to the back of the cage where the cavy can eat this in peace. And if you leave the hay loose in the cage, this is what happens. The hay gets all over the cavy, so when it's presented to the judge has got to try and work out what's sawdust, shavings, hay seeds, or scurf. If possible, I use these pen pads. These ones are supplied by JPS Pets, and I use puppy pads underneath these just to absorb any moisture that the cavies produce. This is much better than putting sawdust on, as the sawdust will kick up into the coat and again make the cavy look uneven and presented in a dirty fashion. So I find this, it's quite alien to me doing this the first time, but it's definitely the best way. It's one of the tips I can 100% say works the best. Teddies are now plentiful on the show bench, and the quality is very high. And you can see them competing at local shows, often winning Best in Show now. And it's great to see that the breed is coming up to a really high standard. And we're quite often getting numbers of consistently over 50 and 60 at the Teddy stock shows, which is great for the breed. And I think there's such a remarkable breed out there because all the colours are different and they look stunning on the show bench. Both Tipsy Cavies and Lilypop Cavies have had some real big success at major shows, with Lilypop's Padana winning Reserve Best in Show at the Bradford, which is a fantastic achievement for both Lilypop Cavies and the breed. But the most recent successful Teddy was Julesjen, which won the National Cavy Club 5-8 stock show. And this is the first time that a Teddy has done this at the National Cavy Club, so this was a fantastic achievement all round. And of course, if you're interested in Teddies or you breed Teddies, you really should join the Teddy Cavy Club. The details of which are on screen now. You can do this via the Teddy Cavy Club website or via their Facebook page, or through the membership secretary at membership@teddycavyclub.co.uk. Being a member allows you to compete with the points competition, which is a high accolade to win this, but you also get the newsletters, and these are fantastic. Absolutely brilliant, packed full of information, all the latest results, and some lovely articles by other exhibitors, as well as the calendar of events for the year. Well, I hope you enjoyed this Teddy breeding focus, and I'm Guinea Pig Greg, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.